Hello, everyone, and welcome to the second Sunday of Lent. And we've been traveling with Jesus. We were with him in the desert, and we're walking with him during this Lent. And we have to remember, to recap a little bit, that in the desert, the reason Jesus goes into the desert is to do what Israel couldn't do. And hopefully that helps us during our Lent, that this isn't a self-perfection program, that we need help during Lent with Jesus. And part of being in the desert with Jesus is just seeing how much we do need him. And that's a real source of peace, to know Jesus says, without me, you can do nothing. So one of the questions for Lent might just be asking, like, what am I still trying to do independent of Jesus? And is that part of what's causing trouble in my life? Now, Jesus is doing what he's doing in the desert also because right before the desert, he receives his baptism. And remember, a few weeks ago, we talked about a thing acting according to its nature. And so Jesus receives his identity, not that he didn't already have it, but he receives it at baptism, and it's revealed that God is a Trinity, Father, Son, Holy Spirit. And Jesus, when he's going through, is telling us about his loving providential Father. And we talked about just this last Lent about how the devil's primary plan for us is to doubt the loving providence of the Father. And so going back to that thing acting according to its nature, since Jesus is the Son, he acts according to who and what he is. Since he is the Son, he's going to show us, he's doing what he does as a son, which is to proclaim the wonders and glory of the Father. And that brings us to this Sunday in Lent, when he brings his closest apostles. There's a little hierarchy in the apostles. We've got the 12, but we've got 3 that he especially likes to show things to. And he brings them up to the mountain where he's transfigured. And get my notes here. He's transfigured, and this is known as a theophany. This is where God shows up as he is. He gives an indication of his glory, right? And first, the things that are pointed out here is that Moses and Elijah show up. Okay, so we've seen through Jesus's speaking that he is the fulfillment of the law, and that's Moses. And that he's the one who the prophets have been foretelling, and that's Elijah, represented by Elijah there, okay? And his face is become super white. Everything around, it's just showing his glory. And just as we heard at the baptism, we hear again from the Father, "This is my beloved Son, in whom I am well pleased. Listen to him." Okay, this shows up twice in the Gospels. And if something does that, it's extremely important. Jesus is showing his apostles the love of the Father. He's setting up his church, okay? And he's especially showing these 3, one, because the crucifixion is coming up and they're going to be tempted to discouragement, and he wants to give them a little taste of what's going on. Okay, he's setting up his church too. It's like, this is the future leadership, and what are they going to do, in the future? And the Father reveals, "This is my beloved Son, in whom I am well pleased. Listen to him." We are called to listen to Jesus, and Jesus is telling us to follow the Father and to trust in the Father, and that's what Jesus is doing. He's proclaiming the goodness of his Father. Thing acts according to its nature. Okay. And also, we're sons and daughters of the Father by virtue of our baptism. I know I've been talking about that a lot, but when we really realize these identities that we have, again, a thing acts according to its nature, we realize what and who we are, and then we know what we ought to do, how we are to act, how we are to live. And we can live as sons and daughters of this loving, providential Father who is yearning for all of us to grow in union with him during this Lent. And the way we do that is by getting rid of the things that are not of him in this life. And so as we approach the table of the Lord today and we receive Jesus, let us ask Jesus to reveal the Father to us. And let us ask the Father to show us his great love and mercy, tenderness, and providence for each and every one of us, so that we might have peace and one day see him in heaven face to face.